There are plenty of cargo e-bikes now that focus mainly on power and size. Bigger batteries, bigger frames, more speed, more cargo space. But the Radio Flyer Loop takes a slightly different approach because the goal here feels more balanced. With a 440-pound payload capacity and 750-watt motor, it tries to stay approachable for normal daily riding. So today we're going through what this bike feels like to ride, how the features work, and where this $3,000 price starts making sense once you spend time with it. Let's get started. The first thing that changes the experience is honestly the size. The Loop is around 4 inches shorter than Radio Flyer's older cargo bikes, so it immediately feels easier to move around before even riding it. Walking it through tighter spaces, parking it, turning it around, and even getting it out of storage feels less intimidating than a traditional long-tail cargo bike. The folding stem also helps a lot there because once the handlebars fold down, the bike suddenly takes up much less room visually and physically. But even though the bike feels smaller overall, the carrying capability still stays serious. The total payload capacity is 440 pounds, while the integrated rear rack supports up to 220 pounds by itself. So this is still fully built for school runs, groceries, backpacks, heavier cargo, or carrying 2 kids on the rear setup. And its low step-through frame also makes daily riding easier because you're not constantly swinging your leg over a loaded cargo rack. Once passengers or bags are on board, that simple frame shape starts mattering pretty quickly. Once riding, the compact frame also changes how the bike behaves. Cargo bikes can sometimes feel stretched out at slower speeds, especially during tighter turns or stop-and-go riding. The Loop feels calmer there because the steering feels lighter than expected for a cargo platform, and the bike reacts quicker while weaving through smaller streets or parking areas. The front suspension fork helps smooth rough pavement without making the steering feel disconnected, while the Kenda E-Venture cargo tires add a lot of stability once weight gets added to the rear. Those tires are clearly built around heavier riding too because they have a wider profile, reflective sidewalls, and enough volume that the bike never feels nervous on rougher pavement. Even smaller details help the ride feel more practical. The dual-leg kickstand keeps the bike stable while loading cargo or passengers, and on a heavier bike like this, that makes a bigger difference than people expect. The Loop uses a 750-watt rear hub motor paired with a torque sensor and 4 pedal assist levels. And honestly, the torque sensor is probably one of the biggest reasons the bike feels natural to ride. Instead of the motor suddenly kicking in aggressively, the bike responds based on how hard you pedal. So power delivery feels smoother and much easier to predict, especially during slower riding or tighter turns. At lower assist levels, the bike feels relaxed and controlled. Around 8 to 10 miles per hour, it almost rides like a regular bicycle with a little extra push underneath you. Then once we moved into the higher assist levels, the whole bike started feeling noticeably stronger. Cruising around 16 to 20 miles per hour becomes pretty effortless, and the extra power becomes much more noticeable while climbing hills or carrying extra weight. What we liked is that even at max assist, the bike still feels smooth because some cargo bikes get jerky once higher power modes kick in. The Loop stays controlled. The thumb throttle also helps a lot more than expected. Starting a heavier cargo bike from a complete stop can feel awkward sometimes, especially with kids or groceries on the back. So using the throttle first makes those starts feel easier and more stable before fully pedaling away. Honestly, the braking system is one of the strongest feature highlights on this bike. Radio Flyer gave the Loop Magura hydraulic disc brakes with 4-piston calipers and large 203mm rotors front and rear. And once you start riding the bike at full cargo bike weight, you understand why that matters. At slower speeds, braking feels smooth and progressive. Then, once you're closer to the 20-mile-per-hour top speed, the bike still stays very composed during harder stops. More importantly, the brakes never feel overwhelmed by the size or weight of the bike, which honestly cannot be said about every cargo e-bike in this price range. Battery capacity here is 48 volts and 14.7 amp hours, while Radio Flyer rates the Loop around 30 to over 50 miles depending on terrain, rider weight, assist level, and cargo load. And honestly, those estimates feel realistic. Lower assist riding stretches battery life surprisingly well, especially during flatter neighborhood riding. But once you stay in Mode 4 regularly or rely heavily on the throttle with added cargo weight, you definitely see battery usage increase faster. Removing the battery itself is simple because you unlock it with the key and slide it out. Underneath, there's actually hidden space designed for an AirTag, which honestly feels like a pretty smart ownership detail for a bike in this category. There's also weatherproof storage built directly into the frame area under the seat and battery section, and it's genuinely useful for smaller tools or daily carry items. The Loop keeps the tech side pretty straightforward overall. The full-color LCD display is bright, easy to read outdoors, and quickly shows speed, battery percentage, assist level, and ride data without looking cluttered. The controls are simple too because the plus and minus buttons handle pedal assist adjustments, while separate controls manage the integrated lighting and turn signals. And honestly, the turn signals become useful much faster than expected once you ride the bike in real traffic. Hand signaling on a larger cargo bike with passengers or bags behind you can feel awkward pretty quickly. Radio Flyer also built a pretty large accessory ecosystem around the Loop, and it clearly changes what the bike can become depending on how you use it. The Cubby Kit transforms the rear into a more structured kid-carrying setup, while the Cubby Caboodle adds extra enclosure and weather protection around passengers. Then you have the XL Front Goodie Basket, which honestly carries a surprising amount without making the bike feel unstable. Grocery runs, backpacks, camera bags, and daily errands all fit there naturally. Smaller accessories like the catch-all bag and handlebar bottle holder sound minor, but once you start regularly using a cargo bike, those little storage additions become genuinely practical. After spending time with the Loop, this honestly feels like one of the more balanced cargo e-bikes in this category. Instead of trying to become the biggest or most extreme cargo bike possible, Radio Flyer focused much more on usability. Easier size, approachable handling, strong carrying capacity, smooth torque, sensing pedal assist, and genuinely useful everyday features all help the bike feel practical without losing capability. And then once you add things like the Magura 4-piston brakes, integrated turn signals, folding stem, and 440-pound payload capacity, the overall package starts feeling pretty well thought out for the price. $3,000 is still serious money, of course. But if you want a cargo e-bike that still feels practical and manageable while keeping real hauling capability, the Loop makes a very strong case for itself. That's it for now. Thanks for watching, and if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe for more bike reviews.